All right, welcome everyone back again to the Education Diary Introduction to the Natural Language Processing Day 1. We are going to be understanding about some of the basic requirements and we are going to be understanding about how can we make some simple NLP projects by today. It's going to be really fun, we can say session today because it's going to be really helping you guys to understand how basically the NLP works. All right. So as usual, we are having the introduction to NLP. I'm just going to give you some 5 or 10 seconds so we can just do collectively same by side to understand about the definitions. And apart from that, we are also going to be working on the project today. All right. If you're good in Python, it's really going to be easy for you. But if you're not good in Python or any other programming language, it's going to be really hard to understand what we are doing, right? So basically, NLP is one of the intersections between the linguistics, computer science, and it basically helps the machine and the humans to understand each other, right? So basically, you can understand that NLP is basically used to interpret and generate human language the way humans, that treat or humans communicate with each other. So the NLP is at somehow tries to mimic the human emotions and actions and the way the humans actually speak, all right, or understanding. That is also something which is really important. NLP is something which tries to understand about the human brain, the way the humans take decisions. NLP tries to mimic that. So that is overall the understanding about the NLP. Now NLP is basically a part or a subcategory of the AI. Now NLP basically has a correlation or a direct relation with the machine learning, and we can also say about the algorithms and the data structures. Once you actually are good at algorithms, you know about some algorithms like decision tree, linear regressions, logistic regression, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and there's so many stuffs, right? So once you actually have these ideas, then you can actually go with the NLP. It's not very difficult, but the thing is that you should be good at programming and have some basic knowledge about the programming. Now understanding NLP is going to be really easy to understand. As usual, this is something which is already written. I'm not going to repeat all these sentences. What I will be trying to do is to tell something which is not written there. All right. So basically NLP is right now getting more and more advanced because of the machine learning and the AI technologies, and of course with the upbringing of the blockchain industry. So because of the uprising of the LLM models like ChatGPT, so it's going to be really easy to, or it will be really helpful to develop some blockchain technologies which can actually help you to get into the data science as well as into the programming industry, which is going to be the AI programming. So this is a new term, which is the AI programming. Now the key components of the NLP is something which is a syntax and the semantics. So if you're not good in programming, so especially in Python, because we are going to do project in Python, if you're not good at Python, so it's really hard for you to understand. You should be having some basic knowledge about the syntaxes and the semantics which are being used into the NLP. So it can be from text to speech recognition or speech synthesis, speech translation. So there can be different categories of the natural language processing. After that, we are having machine learning. So as usual, I told you that we are having machine learning, deep learning. All these are the components of the natural language processing. So overall, the more data, the more pre-processed data we are going to implement to help the machine or the program to learn, testing the program and then training the program. So it's very essential to understand about the machine learning as well. So we are having a lot of data sets from the different websites like Kaggle or from the Google Colab. Especially in the Google Colab, we are having a section of the data set, so we can download from there. Especially we are also having some libraries like TensorFlow and Keras, which are pre-default having some algorithms being implemented and having the default data sets. So if you know how to train a program based on the data set, it's going to be easy for you, and then only you can do the testing of your program. And once the testing is verified, the testing is having a very high fixed value or a F1 score. We have previously discussed about the accuracy F1 score and so many other things. So if it's having the highest point which is meeting the criteria, so your program will be we can say implemented into the machine. After that, we are having corpora and annotated data sets. So as usual, we are having a large collections of text, which is known as corpora, and the large amount of data sets, which comes under the big data or the data science. So you should know how to treat these big data in order to train and test your model. Now we are having some applications of the NLP. So we are having tons and tons of different applications. It can be into the translation, it can be into the speech form, it can be from video to video recognition, from image to video recognition. There are so many different combinations and permutations which we can understand, and there are tons and tons of applications of NLP in our daily life. But here are a few. You can see that we are having language translation services like Google Translate, and of course we are also having different, we can say, AI virtual assistant like Google and Cortana, and we are also having a lot more based on the MacBook as well we are having. After that, we are having some sentiment analysis in social media marketing tools, as well as like on social media you can understand that some of the words or posts are being removed based on the words or the actions. So that is something which the NLP works there. That means if you post something which is offensive, having abusive language, or having a hate or spam kind of thing, so those posts are actually being removed, which ultimately tells you that all these things are working on the base of NLP. We are also having text summarization, like we can basically summarize and we can find out the meanings from that sentence, that what the sentence is actually trying to convey. Now there are some challenges in NLP as well. That is something, you are making a sentence, you have created a sentence which feels or sounds like positive, but it is kind of negative, right? So there the NLP is having a lot of challenge right now. That means the NLP or the machine or the program is not so much advanced that it can understand the intentions of a sentence, although the machine can understand the meaning of a sentence by checking out the words in a sentence. Like suppose if I say I'm happy, so the machine can understand only the word happy, and based on this sentence the machine can tell that the sentence is a positive sentence. But still in deep inside, if I'm sad, so the machine cannot understand that the sentence is something which is not true. So that is something which the NLP right now is facing the challenge, which is really really important to understand, and people and the scientists in the community are trying to resolve this particular issue. So personally, this is going to be something which is really important, in which if you want, you can work. That's going to be really important. After that, we are having some libraries in NLP, some of the famous libraries which I personally used in past and present, and personally I think so that these are the most used libraries in NLP. The very first is going to be your NLTK, which is going to be the natural language toolkit. Now this is something, the page you can just go, you can just check out by your own definitions, right? So in actually all these libraries are having we can say the pre algorithms being set on, right? So you don't need to write an algorithm. So what you can understand is that once you are good in using these libraries, you get to know that what can be the conclusion or the output by using these library. You will be able to understand and implement these different libraries into certain amounts of models. You can also implement two or more than two libraries in the same program based on your needs and criterias. Now here you can see that we are having over 50 corpora and lexical resources. So we already discussed about the corpora, that is a text, huge, we can say text data set. So we are having over 50 corpora, that means over 50, we can say we are having huge text. So that is something which the NLP or the natural language toolkit, a very very famous library being used into the NLP. Now here you are going to be that beginning of the Python program, you're going to be importing some tokens and you're going to tokenize the tokens. Now based on to the words, here you can see that we are having 8 o'clock and Thursday. This is something, the date or the timing format. After that, you're having some identity names, so like the person name, or who is the person, at what time they are having the job or they are leaving the job, and so on. So this is just an example, this is just an example case. You can use this in Python, and here is going to be a graph that what is going to be the timetable a person is going to follow, right? So something is like this. By the way, you can go into the installing NLTK, and here you are going to be understanding that you will be required some Python versions from 3.7 to 3.11. Personally, I'm using MacBook, so I'm going to be using the commands like this. But if you're using Windows, so you have to go with these particular installation commands, right? So you can also go to the GitHub repository, and from there you can download the NLTK software, which is a third-party software, but I would personally suggest you to try to use the CLI interfaces like PyCharm, which is one of a very great IDE versions which can be used in installing and working on Python projects. After that, we are also having installed an NLTK data, which is of course a huge data set which we want to install. So you can try to download from here by using up these commands. And for the references, you can check for the data, we can say the link which is given onto this library website. So NLTK is one of a very great and we can say majorly used library under the NLP. After that, we are having spaCy, which is going to be spaCy. Some people say spaCy and some people say spaCy. So we can go for spaCy. It's much more convenient for me. So here actually you can see that we are also having, how can we use the spaCy. Here we are having the sentences, and each sentence you are having some positive and negative impacts or the negative words, and based on these things you can just run your spaCy. It's not very difficult to understand, right? So you can try, and you can come here, you can go into the usage, and you can go for the models. So here you're having some different models and different data sets. Based on that, you can install. You're also having the API. If you want to use into your PyCharm, you can use and go for your API version as well. After that, the third is going to be your transformers by the Hugging Face, which is of course we are having a huge data set in this. Now it is basically used for entity recognition, question and answering, language modeling, summarization, translation, multiple choice, and text generation as well. Now transformers is also not limited to NLP, but it is also used in computer vision and audio, as well as for the multimodal different approaches. So you can go for the transformers. It is also widely used. This was the third one. The fourth one is going to be your TensorFlow as well as Keras. Now if you are good in Python, or if you already know Python, you already know about the TensorFlow. Now the TensorFlow is something which is a very large library. It is having a very huge case. There are certain projects which can be used by using the TensorFlow and Keras, and it cannot be completed in 1 hour or 2 hours. So it is something which requires a lot of practice and a lot of time. Then only you will be able to be expert in using TensorFlow and Keras. After that, the fifth one which we are having is the torch text. Now this is being we can say released by the PyTorch. So you're having the torch text, and you can also use this one. It is basically used for text recognition, not for the computer vision or any kind of translation. So only for the text. If you're using any sentences or words, based on that, you can just try to use the torch text. After that, we are having GenSim, which is the topic modeling. So suppose here you can see that again they're using the corpora. That means huge large text summarization values, and based on those values you're getting the results. So overall you can see that largely all the libraries are having the same connections or the close relativity with each other. Ultimately all these libraries are going to be giving you the same output, or the same, we can say what we actually expect from the models and the libraries. So overall the libraries are going to be giving you approximately the same things which you actually want to have out of your program. After that, we are having the sixth or the seventh one is going to be your Stanford NLP group. Now basically these are the group which has invented or created the Stanford NLP. You can go into the GitHub repository and you can download the Stanford NLP. But apart from that, I would like to mention that it's not really easy, because I personally believe so that you have to get the access from the Stanford NLP group in order to use this particular library. And at the very last, we are having NLP, which is also for the text NLP programmation. So if you are using the text recognition, so you can try and go for NLP. But out of all these different NLP libraries, I would just try to tell you that go for NLTK, which is, as usual, I told you, it's an open source first of all, and it's really easy to use, easy to understand. And if you want to move forward and more, you can go for different libraries like by the way, this TensorFlow and Keras is also one of a very good approach. So for my personal suggestion, go with NLTK and TensorFlow and Keras. These two are the most appropriate by which you can go into your NLP field, right? So this was the overall view of the library. So today we are going to be understanding about some of the we can say NLP projects. So as usual, like I'm having my PyCharm here. So as usual, we are going to be understanding and we are going to create about the NLP project today, which is going to be easily, we can say, going not so very difficult. It's going to be really easy friendly, beginner friendly, so it's not going to be very hard for you to understand. But if you don't know Python, so it's going to be really hard for you, because I'm personally not going to make you learn about Python. It's not the session that about. So this session is only for the NLP. So if you're not good at Python, so it's really hard, because you won't be able to understand what we are doing, how the strings values are being taken, how we are tokenizing, or what we are actually doing. So if you know Python, that's really awesome. That's really great. So let's try to create some project by using we can say NLTK, right? So let's go for Python file, and let's go for the sentiment analysis, or yeah, sentiment analysis. So .py, right? So right now there is no value. So as usual, I think so everyone knows this particular thing. It's worldwide, right? So print hello world. So overall, this is something which is the very first thing which we as a programmer we do. So I think so we can increase the size. Yeah, that's it. That's awesome. So right now, what the very first thing I'm going to do is for installing some of the pre-libraries, that is the text blob, which is a part of NLTK. So I can go here and I can just write pip install text blob, right? So it's very important. So if I can increase the size here, no, I cannot increase the size. Right, so but still here you can see that I have written pip install text blob. So once I hit enter, so I'm already having text blob, but somehow if you don't have the text blob, go into the PyCharm, go into the settings, and here go into the plus. So before that, make sure to go into the Python interpreter, go to the plus icon to install the library which you want, and I want text blob. So I will be searching, so I'm already having text blob here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to click on install package. And once you're having this green color that written install successfully, it's fine. If it's red, sometimes you're having error here. That means you're having red, you're having some problems with your kernel or with your Python interpreter. So it can be any reason. So you have to research on that, because it's sometimes you really get some error stuffs here. So go to close, and yeah, so now we are going to be writing some of the very basic thing. So as usual, we have installed text blob. So from text blob, I'm going to be importing the text blob. So yep, this is going to be, that means from the text blob library, I'm going to import the text blob module, right? So this is the library and this is the module which I'm importing right now. After that, we are going to be trying to create a program. I'm going to define a function. So let's have a defining function with the name kind of like analyze, we can take sentiment, right? So analyze sentiment. So once again, if you are not good in Python, so it's going to be hard for you to understand. If you already know Python, so it's awesome. All right, and let's have some string name, or let's take blob, because we are using text blob, so we can give a name blob. I'm going to use the module which is text blob, and inside text blob I'm going to be having review, right? So here it's quite easy, it's not very difficult. After that, by the way, there is something which is known as polarity. Polarity is something which is a kind of index. So suppose if any word is having polarity of more than 0, it is positive. If any word is having polarity less than 0, like in negative, so it is negative. So we will be understanding. So let's implement polarity here. I'm just taking a value of polarity here. So polarity is going to be, I'm taking a function blob.sentiment.polarity. All right, so this is going to be something which I'm going to taking. So here you can see that I've taken a name, a variable whose function is going to be blob.sentiment.polarity. Now this blob.sentiment.polarity is a part. So if you don't know about programming language, you can go into these particular things, and you will be having a lot of different functions and the use case of that functions. So this particular functions use case is that if any of the value is having blah 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 more than 0, positive. If it is having less than 0, so negative. It is already 0, so it is going to be neutral. So that is something, the use cases of this particular line. So this particular function which I have taken, so blob.sentiment.polarity. Now there are tons and tons of different functions which you can take, but this is something which is quite easy. So if polarity, right now I'm not going to write this whole function, I can simply write the variable. So if polarity is greater than 0, as I told you, if it is greater than 0, so what we can do is we can go for, yeah, so if it more than 0, so we are going to be having return, so we are going to be returning positive, right? So we are going to be having positive. Now this is something which is in the strings, so we will be having this as a positive. All right, so after that, by the way, if that is something which is less than 0, so we can use elif statement. So elif polarity is less than 0, so it's going to be what? It's going to return us negative because we are using positive. So let's take negative. And after that, else we can use, because we are using elif, so after that always we use else if you are ending up your statement. By the way, if I wanted to add more and more certain arguments like elif polarity is, of course we can only have 3 situations right now. It can be greater, it can be low, or it can be equal. But still, if in any use case, if you would be having more than 3 cases, so you will be taking elif and so on. But that is something which is not a good idea, to take so many elif. Otherwise your program is going to be taking a lot of time to process. So else we are going to be return, because right now the third statement is of course telling you biologically, if it is not greater than 0, if it is not less than 0, so it's going to be equal to 0. So this third statement is of course telling a logic. So return, it's going to be neutral. So I think so the spellings are totally fine, but still if there is any spelling mistake, so apologies for that. Now I'm going to add one of a sentence which is going to be telling us about the reviews. So what I can go to the reviews. Let me just check on everything is fine. Yep, so we are going to be having reviews here. So in reviews, I'm going to be adding some lines because it's really important to add what are the reviews. So suppose if I just add, because we are doing NLP, we are using text recognition by using the NLTK natural languages toolkit, and we are using the module from that NLTK, which is the text blob. So I'm going to be writing something which is going to be let's try write I absolutely love this movie, or love this movie, right? So something like this. I'm just writing the random sentences. So the storyline, or the storyline is brilliant, was brilliant, anything like that. Suppose you have just watched a movie right now. We are using a movie, that we have just watched a movie, and right now based on our sentences, we are going to be having a program which will be telling that the movie was good or bad, or it was neutral. So based on different people opinions, it is going to tell us. So brilliant. So after that, let's add some more lines. It can be anything. Let's try to have something negative. I hated the movie. I hated the movie. It was too long. But I was even though I was excited. Now this is something which is important to understand. Even though I was excited. Now this is really important to understand about this line. Now here you can understand that we have used a sentence, I hated the movie. Now this particular whole sentence is giving a negative impact, negative review, but the machine is not going to be able to understand, because the machine is going to be taking the word excited. So ultimately the machine will be telling that this we can say sentence is having a positive review, right? So let's see what the machine will be telling at the last. Let's try to add one more sentence if possible, something like neutral, so that we can get 3 cases. It was okay, it was not too good, it was not too bad, not like the best, the movie was not the best, but it was worth watching. So it was worth watching, right? So we have taken 3 sentences. I personally believe so that we will be having 3 different cases, positive, negative, and neutral, but still depends on the model which we are using and how it was going to give us the results. After that, I'm going to be taking for review. So for review, I'm going to be taking, sorry, it should be, yeah, for review in reviews, yeah. So I'm taking the review, which was the above one. Here you can see that we are having the review, which is using the analyze sentiment case function. So I'm going to be taking sentiment. I'm taking a value sentiment, analyze sentiment, and here I'm going to be writing review, right? Same thing. And after that I'm going to be printing. So let's try to print. It's going to be F. I think so. It's going to be review, because this is our last line, right? So we want something to modify so that it can give us a proper sentence, meaning that review. After that, what is the review? It is positive, negative, or neutral. So let's try to customize the sentence according to our way. So the review should tell us something which should be review, right? So it should be review. By the way, yeah, it's done. So we are going to be using this particular thing, right? Because it is review, it should be under this function, parenthesis review. Let's close this. Yep. After that, we want one we can say space under the sentence, changing the sentence. So we are going to be using review n, and yep, now it's fine. Sentiment is going to be something. So yep, I think so. That's it. Should be working, but still I'm going to be writing sentiment here. And after that, do I need any space? Let's take this one. I think so. It should work, but I'm not sure. Maybe I've made some mistakes, but let's try to run the program, right? So if I'm going to run the program, all right, so the program is working pretty fine. There should be some grammatical errors or the syntax errors, so it should work fine. So here you can see that we are having the review. I absolutely love this movie. The storyline was brilliant. I hated the movie. It was too long, even though I was excited. It was okay, not the best, but it was worth watching. So based on all these three lines, we are having the sentiment of the person is positive. So that is something which we have done. Now, as usual, we can add more and more reviews. If I want to add here another review, so I can take review 2 and I can add more and more reviews. I can write here anything in the strings values, and it is going to be giving the another sentiment, which is a negative, right? So overall, the person, whatever the person is saying, so in the first line the person was having positive intention, the second line the person was having the negative intention, but the that the program is telling that the person was excited. So the program is actually trying to take the word excited as a positive manner. The third line was, it was okay, not the best, but it was worth watching. So somehow the machine or the program, the algorithm is working based on what the words are telling. So we'll be understanding how actually this that NLTK is working, what is the algorithm behind that, how actually it is working in an easy manner. But overall, if I'm going to add more and more reviews, like I'm going to use really bad words here, so it is going to be giving us the negative view, right? So that is something which is really important to understand how the program is actually working. Now this is just a basic and a beginner level program to understand and give understanding that based on your words, how the program is going to give you an output. So here you can see that a single person has 3 different statements, but overall all these statements are giving us the positive result, that the person was having a positive review about the movie, right? So this was something which was not very difficult. I personally think so it was quite easy, but like this was something, if I want to add a movie which is something having a title, right? Suppose if I want to ask about a movie, let's take Titanic or any other movie like Avengers or any other movie. If I want to take that particular thing, so for that we should be having a lots and lots of data sets, lots and lots of data sets of the people, what they are telling, and based on those particular data sets, at the last what the result we are having, is the movie having a positive review, like based on that data set, right? So if we are having a lot of data sets, lots of people have said good things, lots of people have said bad things, so at the last when we run the program, so we will be having that, is the movie having a positive review or a negative or a neutral review. So that is something when you go for the IMDb ratings or any other movie ratings, that how many people are enjoying. So based on all these different data sets and approaches, right? So let's try to make some any other program if possible. Like if I want to give any movie title here only in this program, like if it's a good movie or a bad movie, if it's possible. Now let's try if we can customize something from text blob, import text blob, sentiment review, text blob. All right, so review. So if I'm going to analyze statement review here, okay, so let's try to run return. Now I'm going to be using this sentiment polarity here first of all. Right, so if anything else I can add. All right, so let's delete this. Let's try to add some movie review here because we are taking movie. So let's have a string or a variable with the name movie review. So we are going to add strings in this variable. So previously we were taking just review, so right now we are taking movie review. All right, let's add some lines here. Let's take the movie name, The Great Adventure, for an example. So by the way, let me know in the comment section which is your favorite movie, right? The Great Adventure should be in or out because we are using the movie, so it should be out, right? Now here I'm going to be giving different forms of, we can say, strings. Let's take an amazing movie and it was awesome. Let's try to use some words, right? I love the movie. So yeah, I loved the movie. All right, so it's enough. I think so that's enough for a sentence. Now after that, here, because we are taking movie review, I'm going to add another movie. So it is going to be, I'm going to add for an example, Titanic. So same thing here I'm going to be doing. So inside the string, it was good, awesome, and best movie. So let's add one more, a negative. So we are trying to add something movie which is negative. Let's try to take any name. It can be what? So Steel, for an example. I don't know if this is a movie or not, but I'm just giving a name, Steel. So let's add a bad review here. Bad movie. Waste of time. Not good. I think so that's enough. So yeah, I think so that's enough, right? So once we are having our strings here, so yep, that's fine. It's totally fine. So now what I can do is I can go for movie, because I'm taking movie, so I can go for movie reviews. I'm taking two different variables for movie reviews in movie review. So this we have done in the previous program also, right? So for reviews in review, so for we are having two different variables. That means we want the output in the form of movie, that this is the name of movie and this is a review. So that's why we are taking two values. If you want more values here, so you have to add more values for like movie, reviews, actor name, right? So actor, director. So if you want different outputs, so based on your requirements, you can customize your program. So we are having this. So now we are having two basic items here because we are using two different things. So suppose if I wanted only one thing, so for movie in movie review, it was fine. But when we are using more than one particular item in this particular function, so we are going to take in items. So this is something which is quite easy to understand. I think so this line is properly understood. So print. So what I'm going to do is that I want the review. So our movie was good or bad. So after that, it should be inside the string, right? So yep, so it should be movie. I think so that's fine, right? So yep, it's not should be F movie, function movie inside the movie. Anything else? So for review, we are having review also, right? So in reviews, so for review and reviews, now we are taking the review. So sentiment, now this is something a very important line. Sentiment score is something which is important. That means if it is a positive, as usual, I told you polarity, we are taking the polarity. So if it is above 0 positive, below 0 negative, so we want a sentiment score to set for the words inside a sentence. So sentiment score is something we are going to take, analyze sentiment. Of course, in which function? It's going to be in review. So we have taken a variable with the name sentiment analysis, and now we are going to declare the sentiment score into the review function, which we are going to take after that. We are again taking sentiment. So it's going to be sentiment equal to, now if it is a positive, so we will be getting positive. So positive, then when it is having what? If sentiment is the polarity, the sentiment score, if sentiment score is greater than 0, right? So after that we can take what? So let's try to add in this only, else we are going to take negative. Else it's going to be negative if sentiment score is less than 0. So if it is having less than 0, so we are having negative. If it is more than 0, so it is having positive. Otherwise, at the very last, we are going to be having what? Else neutral, because we are having three different combinations, right? Else neutral. I think so that's enough. So if I'm going to print if review, now we are taking review here only. It's going to be taking review. After that we want some space in sentiment, right? Now in sentiment we are going to be adding the sentiment, right? I think so it should work until unless there is no semantics or syntax errors. Let's try to run. Oh, by the way, we are having this also, no? So let's delete this. Everything is fine. Let's run this. So we are having this particular line having a problem. Sentiment score. All right. So here we are having, by the way, now it's fine because there was no declaration. So it was a variable, right? So now try to run. Here, voila. So we have done that. So now here you can see that the movie which was here, let me try to zoom in. The Great Adventure, the movie, the review was amazing. It was awesome because I was using the words which were really having the positive feedback. It gave me the sentiment as a positive. The Titanic, positive. Bad movie, as I told, bad, so gave me the negative. Now this is something which is good to understand as a beginner, because we are using text blob. As I told you, NLTK is a good one, go for that. So text blob is a part of NLTK. So the algorithm is working in such a way that every word, the text blob is checking every word index. Now what do you mean by that is that every word is having a certain index value. That means in the text blob, the we can say developers have already told that whenever the bad comes, it is having negative 0.9, -1, or whatever the value is being fixed for bad in that particular index. Every word, if I take good, so good is having a positive value, so positive 0.2, 0.3, or whatever. So that is really, we can also check that what is the index scores of every word. So you can go onto the websites and you can search for the index values and index scores. But overall, this is something which was really important to understand, and I personally think so that you would be enjoying. And if you enjoy, so you can contact with the education diary, for more of such lessons. We are having some really great projects coming on right now in some coming future. uh, I just wanted to tell you like more, show you more, if we can check for the indexed values how the algorithm is actually working of the text blob. Let's try to, if we can go and if we can make something like that. I'm not sure because I never tried. So first of all, let's go for matplotlib, because I think so every one of you know about the matplotlib. So pip install text blob matplotlib. So matplotlib, again, if it's not installed, go on to the settings, go on to here and go on to matplotlib. So yep, I'm going to install the package from here. Okay, so it's installed. So matplotlib is a great library to display into a visual form how it actually looks like, and how the things will be looking if they were in the visual form. It shows the data into a visual format. So I'm going to be going to my interpreter and I'm going to import the NLTK, which is of course the ultimate library. And after that, I'm going to be taking some NLTK download, if I'm not wrong. There is something which is known as KT, if I'm not wrong. I'm just going to write right now. I'm not sure if it is or no. If we are going to get some error, so we can check out. But right now, I'm not sure that was punk T or that was T punk. But let's move forward. NLTK download. We are going to be having some averaged perceptron. After that, tagger, or let's go for tagger. After that, we are going to be NLTK download. So we are downloading all these things, right? So if this is going to be available, so it's going to be fine. If it's not available, so it will show us brown. So these are some important libraries. Brown. Right. So we are having 3 string values inside the download function. After that, we are going to do text blob as usual. We are going to import the text blob, right, as usually are done. So we are going to import matplotlib .pyplot as PLT. You always, by the way, once you are doing programming, so you always have a habit to remember some things, like it is always matplotlib.pyplot. So there is nothing to remember in this. So let's have some sentences values. Sentence is equal to once again I'm trying to write. So I love the movie, it was great. If I can make a graph on this and it can show you some index values that this sentence is having, where the value is, the next sentence where the value is. So I'm trying to make a program which can show you a graph of each sentence, that what is the index value of each sentence, it is more than 0 or less than 0. Just trying to make one if it's possible. So I hate the movie, it was bad. All right, so let's take one more sentence. No, the movie was fine, not boring. Fine. So let's take one more sentence. This is the best film I have ever watched. Alright, so let's take one more sentence. This is the worst film. So this is the last sentence which we can take. Alright. So now we are again not giving any movie title. So if you want, you can again try to do based on to the last program which we have did. So you can give a movie, every movie you can add more and more. You can take items at the last function. But right now I'm going with a very basic thing which we have done, right? So let's try to take some polarities. Polarities values is going to be something which is going to be text blob. Text blob. We are going to be taking some sentence in this sentences or sentence, right? So I'm going to take sentence dot sentiment dot polarity in this. think so it's fine. Here I'm not having any problem, but it should be sentences or sentence. All right, let's go for sentence in sentences. Let's take this one. Yeah, I think so. Now that's fine. There is no problem in that. Okay, now we want a figure to visualize, right? So we have taken the polarities. Where the polarities we want of each sentence. So we have taken sentence in the sentences. So we are having 5 sentences. So it should show 5 points onto a graph on the matplotlib. So we now get a graph. So for graph, we can go for PLT figure. So PLT figure, we want a size. So let's take a size. It should be fixed size. So these are by default values, so you don't need that. So let's have some figure size of 106. Is it okay? You can, by the way, customize based on your. So PLT dot we are taking plot. So what we are going to plot? We are going to plot the polarities, right? The data points which we are having. So it's going to be like 0 or O. We want some label also. So let's label. So label is going to be polarities. So every data point is going to be having what? The name as a polarity, or let's take polarity. All right. So this is going to be something which is going to be plotted. So after that, we are going to give a title to our this particular thing, plt.title. So we are going to give title as we can take any title, sentence, sentiment, analysis. All right. So this is going to be the title for our particular graph. And after that, for the title, apart from size, now what we have to declare, label. Let's have some label also, like X label or Y label. So PLT Y label. So for the Y label, we want what to show as a sentiment, polarity or analysis. Let's go for polarity. All right, now PLT dot X label. Now on X label, what we want, so sentiment, sentence analysis, sentiment polarity. Things that's fine. Maybe any error. Okay, fine. We don't want any X label. If you want, you can just write sentiment graph, any kind of like that. We really don't want, because Y label is important because we are going to show or demonstrate or visualize the data points. X label is not very important, so you can just label anything, right? After that, we are having some X sticks values. That means we want some values. So X sticks values. Range, it should be from 0, right? We are taking from 0. So let's take range from length. Length is going to be something in the form of sentences. So it should be sentences. And after that, comma. So labels is important. What the label should be telling. So labels equal to F, and now here we will getting a string value, sentence, range +1 or -1. No, if it's positive, so it should be +1. I'm not sure. Let's try to run the program first of all. If we are going to be having some error, so we can check that as well. For I in range, length should be in the form of sentences, and yeah. So after that, we are going to be having rotation, because we want to demonstrate a rotation equal to, I think so, that's fine. X text values, range, length, sentences, label, sentence I +1. All right, I think so, that's fine. So all right? So plt dot line, so this should be 0. The color of the data points of the line should be red, right? It should be red. So the line style, what style we want of the line, can be anything. So let's take this one, right? Dash dash. All right, I think so, that's fine. So the lines will be having the color red and the style will be this one. If you want, you can take abstracts or whatever the symbols you want to take. So I think that's it. Let's run this plt legend. This is the last function, and after that we are going to be having some layout so that it doesn't go outside. So type layout, let's don't give any value, and then plt.show. That's it. Once again, let's try to revise up. Figure fixed size, polarities, sentiment, polarity, graph. I think so, that's it. Let's try to run the program. So here you can see that the sentence 1 is having overall the sentiment graph is showing us what? Polarity is 0. And the data points here, the blue one, you can see it is having the positive one. It is having 0.14. So overall you can see that we are having the values here, and it is telling us that overall it was having a neutral as well as a positive review, right? So overall you can go and you can try to add more things as well if you want. I'm not sure, but still if you want you can try. So yeah, so this is something the graph, right? The graph looks like, but if you want you can add more and more sentiments and more statements, and based on that you will be having some certain data points. So right now the line graph is basically telling us that it is neutral. The overall lines which we are telling is a neutral one, but if you want you can go for more as well if you want, right? So yeah, that was it for today, and it was really good to work on some NLP basic programs for you guys. And if you are going to be having any other problems, you can just ask me in the future, or you can just send email to the education diary. And yeah, thanks a lot guys for attending this webinar. Make sure to subscribe the education diary channel as well.